Hi, Harry. Okay, so let's first salute in. So welcome to the virtual class. And let's do some just loosening off first. So with your feet shoulder width distance apart, shoulders relaxed, heavy through the tail, raising the arms. 4. And rest on your back. Let your head fall forwards. And relax through the legs to return. Hips forwards. And again, relax down to return. Forwards. Heavy through the head, heavy through the shoulders. Relax the tail. Hips forwards. Relax the shoulders and the head. Again, falling through the tail. Just a small point as you're going back, be careful not to turn the eyeballs upwards, but keep looking forwards. Or if you close your eyes will go in the right position anyway. So nice and soft. Focusing on the movement of the spine. Gently flexing. And the same to the sides. So it's lightness through the crown, let the head fall to one side. Feel stretching and opening through the ribs, and falling through the opposite leg. The other side. Falling down through the opposite leg. So again, just flexing the sides of the spine. Be careful not to twist the back. So your eyes more or less forwards the entire time. And relax. Okay, so turning through the waist. Closing the hands. Lightly turn. Be very gentle. It's not a physical exercise really of trying to do as much as possible. Instead, just let yourself rest and float on the hips, relaxing through the shoulders, relaxing through the legs. Let your tail hang. So often, by mistake, we do this. So let the hips fall, so that the back can rest. The arms are doing nothing at all. The only element of yang is that the hands are closed, and that's it. But you're not trying to move your arms or force them around, or fling them around, and just moving from your centre, and that's it. If you can, really this exercise should be done for some time. just to loosen off the back, loosen off the shoulders, loosen off the hips. If you have back issues or any trouble with the back, then you should do more of this. But of course within your natural range. So if it's painful, that's an indication that something's wrong, so perhaps stop there. But if you can, try to go through a little bit and just allow your body to calm down, muscles to soften, to regain that suppleness through the spine. I don't know about anyone else, but to me it feels like we have much more time now. So maybe at a later stage I'll go through and maybe video how long you would normally do things like this for. In fact, I'm planning to do that, and hopefully I'll be able to put it onto YouTube and perhaps Facebook as well. But really give your mind a little bit of time. Give yourself time, literally give yourself time to slow down, to soften. There's nothing else to do, nowhere to go. Nowhere, really is nowhere to go. So an hour here or there doesn't make an awful lot of difference to everyday things. But in this practice, half an hour of doing this will make a big difference. Okay, and relax. So next, let's stretch out the legs and the back a little bit. So lightly stretching up, going forward slightly, the fingers falling. Let the body hang down. Keep your body weight slightly forwards on the feet. And to come up, soften the legs. Imagine you're sitting down on a chair. At the same time, the palms are energized and being lifted by your torso. Hips slightly forwards, so you're upright, and hips slightly forwards, and then going up and over and around. Falling down. Same thing, going forwards instead of back, so going forwards, falling. Rest your arms, rest your back. It's not important how low, so you can go to here. So long as this is free, your head is free, your back is free, and hopefully you can feel a slight stretch on the back of the legs. If you're flexible enough to go a little bit lower, if your hands touch, you can cross. And to come up, the focus is on the tail, falling, to lift the arms. Be careful not to leave the arms behind and then lift, because you'll strain the back slightly. So the arms are energized, fingers lightly stretched, and your hands relate to your tail. Now hips slightly forwards, and then again, growing over. Last one. And again, soften the legs, energize the palms, sitting down. And rest. Just a quick tip for this exercise. If you get lightheadedness or dizzy spells or anything, don't stay down for too long. And can't really stress it enough that you don't have to go low. Just the feeling of hanging. It's the sensation of hanging that we're looking for, not the idea of stretching. Oddly, we tend to think of pushing to stretch, But if you're pushing something, that's actually a contraction, which is the opposite of stretching. So in this practice, you're just hanging and allowing things to happen rather than actively doing something, really. So this is the idea. When you're coming up any strain, you can use your hands to help. Use your legs like a little bit of a ladder if you need to. But it's important not to hurt yourself or strain yourself. We're kind of living in a culture where we say, if you can't do something, just grin and bear it, get through it, you'll be all right. No, that's not the case in this instance. So we're looking to take responsibility for our health. Okay, let's go through some breathing exercise. For the first class, for the Beijing Tai Chi, we're going to do our 5 minutes concentration exercise. So let me just put the music on. You'll hear the Bluetooth coming on.
Bluetooth 9 in mode.
Now I did have some a message from Facebook saying that they would mute some of my classes because they weren't sure whether the music was copyrighted in certain countries. So when you go back to watch those live feeds afterwards, maybe some of the sound will go. I haven't checked it yet, but just look out for that. If Facebook and copyright and all that is watching, what I'm going to play is not copyrighted. So we're going to do this concentration exercise from the Daoyin system, and it's all PPL free music. So first, with your feet together, your arms resting, hanging by the sides. Close your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Relax your head. Relax your face. Relax your lower back. Relax your hips and your knees. And even the soles of your feet. Place the tongue behind the top teeth. So absolutely resting. Relax your body enough that your breath sinks down through the body to the Dantian and the Mingmen. So the front of the body below the navel and the back. Very important that your tail hang. And again, you have all the time in the world. Once your body's relaxed, your breath can sink. Once the breath sinks, the mind starts to quieten. And follow me through this sequence of breathing exercises.
凝神练意，调心功。第一课练习开始，请大家开步站立，周身放松，两掌合于面前，两眼轻闭。第一式，一手丹田，大家将两腿微曲，两掌别于气，杂念不生，五脏六腑、四肢百骸，全然处于高度放松之中。医书云：用心意集中于丹田内，先吸后呼，一吸百脉皆合，一呼百脉皆开，呼吸往来， 百脉皆通，气血周流，百病皆除。第二式
And change.
指心命门，
Bring the arms out as if you're collecting
深吸
space
旋臂，
around you.
将两掌捞出时对准肾枢。
Relax
随
your
着两
shoulders,
腿微
relax
屈，
your
将
elbows.
意念转移到命门
Feel,
上，
be aware of this connection.
好像微火温煦一般，以求调血养气，补身之亏损。第三式劳宫采气，
Let the arms fall.
大家将两臂先内旋后外卷，使两掌摆至胸前，两臂
Feeling that you're
自
being
然伸直，
suspended, so you're
掌
resting
心
the body.
上，
Focus on your palms.
采日月之精华，取天地之灵气，既可调神炼意，又可壮其体魄。第四式细念涌泉，
And
大家
change
在
to
顺
palm.
其自然的将意念集中到涌泉穴上，同时深吸旋臂，两掌分别侧把，
Your
随
arms
着
can
两腿
rest
半
here,
中下按
here,
扶把，
here. And focus on the soles of your feet,
此时感
resting
到
on the ground.
如涂薄荷，神清气爽，如灌甘露，令人心旷神怡。第五式引气任毒，
Soften the wrists,
大家在随着腿的伸屈，
the shoulders coming
将
forward.
两掌抱于腹前，
And as if to hold a big balloon or a ball, and try to feel the
仿佛该
connection from
部
one arm to
有
the
一
next
气
through
团
your
生
body.
成，气流向下循行至会阴，
Be acutely aware of your breath at the dantian.
作为履，
The whole body's relaxed.
夹击，打百会，经鹊桥而下，沿任脉回归关元。照此共作3遍。
And take 3 slow, deep breaths. Breathing into the dantian
经常习练，可以调补后天，
and
补
breathing out
益
through the
先
mouth.
天，内安五脏，却病延年。
In through the nose to the dantian. Out through the mouth. And relax the arms. Bring the left leg in.
最后，请大家睁开双眼，两腿伸直，两手垂于体侧，左脚向右脚并拢，搓手和浴面各做3次，
And then gently massage
以
the
依
face,
然自
starting
得
with
的
the
心
chin,
情，
to the corners of the mouth, the nose, the eyes, rubbing the temples, behind the ears, down through the
凝
jaw.
神练意，调心功，
And again,
一手绵绵控心胸，心无烦恼，行无倦，怡情养性，得安宁。
and rest. Make sure everything's still relaxed and soft. When you're ready, open your eyes and relax. So, yeah, Facebook didn't really like me playing music, so I think maybe I won't play music today. So it does unfortunately mean I'm going to waffle on a little bit. Nothing new there. And so let's start then with the 24 steps. For those that are new or have done not very much Tai Chi before, just follow as best you can. I'm going to take it really slow, really gently, as if you've not done anything. Just going to go through the first few movements. And I had a few comments that I talk a lot, so I'm going to try and do a bit more of the form, and you can maybe just follow for now, and I'll try to give some pointers as we go rather than stopping each time. So I've got the camera, I think, the correct way around now. I can't see anything, so apologies for that, but hopefully if I raise my right hand, you're also seeing my right hand. So I'm going to do a few movements from the side so that you can see a better angle, and then I'll do a direct mimic. So the first movement is your left leg is going to step to your left. So if I stand this way, your left leg will step to your left. Roughly shoulder width distance. The arms lift. The elbows fall, but the crown is lifted. So from the front, I'm stepping to my left. The fingers lightly energized and lifting the arms and falling. Now once again from the side, taking a step. Energize the fingers. The elbows and hips fall, the palms follow, and energizing the fingers, raising the arms, falling down. Energize the fingers, lift, and fall. Stepping to the left, open fingers, as if you're being pulled forwards, and the elbows hang, hips soften, and fall down. Step, open, lift, and fall down. Continue that practice yourself. You can do it with me if you like, but I'm going to show some mistakes. So the first mistake would be, so you can do it correctly, but the first mistake is this: countering your leg, body weight, lifting the hip, leaning forwards, or arching the back, or leaning backwards. Same on the way down, squatting instead of falling, or pushing down. And with regard to the arms, pressing not pressing. Resting through your elbows, falling. This is the yin aspect, the falling down aspect. So I'm going to step to my left. So, and maintain the bike wheel. You're being pulled forwards. Soften the tail and the back. Rest and fall. Again. There's a certain distance that you'll fall, and when you reach a particular point, you'll find that you either have to add something or do something. That's the point to stop. So from here, this is comfortable for me. If I go any lower, I have to tense and push, so that's too much for me. So just to here. As best you can. As always, try to link the arms through the back, and then everything moves together. Your arms, your legs, your body. So if your legs were to stop, your arms would stop. If your arms were to stop, your legs would stop. So avoid legs, then hands, or the other way. Hands, then legs. At first it's a coordination, but of course really we want to feel that everything is connected to everything else. Step. Open the fingers. You're being pulled forwards. Be aware of your back and your tail. Falling down. And resting. So let's move on. The second posture of 24. Use this falling to turn and hold the ball. Take a wide step. Give the shoulder first to the direction that you're moving, then turn the body until your hand covers your nose. The other hand is pressing down as if on a table. From the start, take a step. Open the fingers. Fall and rest. Hold the ball. Shoulder, waist, rest. So turning through your centre. Hold the ball. Still moving through your centre. Let your back heel slide on the end so there's no tension in your hips. And your hand more or less the height of your nose, checking that the tail is falling, the crown is lifting. There's a connection through your arms, through your back. So you're not holding stress in any of the joints. You're releasing that stress in order to connect the internals. From the side. Fingers open. Fall. Convert that fall into a turn. Hold the ball. Part the wild horse's mane. Notice the footwork if you can see. So watch here. After the first posture, regulate breath, often nicknamed heaven and earth. Now watch the distance of the feet. Step out. And you can clearly see both the feet. Be very careful not to step on a straight line. So you don't want your hips to twist or your knee to twist through your body, the joints. You don't want this action. So the width of your stance accommodates the width of your hips. So whichever leg here, not on a tightrope. You can probably see that the hip is being plucked out of the joint. The knee is twisting against the foot, so I have to struggle to balance, which is possible, but why bother? Instead, rest. You're resting on the ground as if you're kind of melting towards the floor. So, again, step. Energize the palms. Fall. Here the elbows often pull back, but instead let them fall directly down. Convert to a turn. Hold the ball. Turn the body. And part the wild horse's mane. Let the heel slide because the body's turning. Just a very quick note. In the beginning, there are many ways to do this form. They will all look more or less the same, but there are slight subtleties depending on the teacher. So if you're accomplished on the 24, just bear in mind it might be slightly different, it might be the same, I don't know. Hopefully it won't be the same, because Tai Chi is not fixed. Tai Chi is based on Yin Yang theory, so one of the constants is that things change. We adapt and grow as we learned and taken on some of the actions and the ideas. So often you see from this side, you see a direct movement here. Sometimes you see a slight turn, then a counter turn, and then hold the ball. Like me, I'd make a little bit more simple, so just slightly glancing to one side, and then back in the other. Some people forwards, and then around, similar to the long forms and the rest. But of course, all as you gauge. All Tai Chi instruction is only guidance. Whether you take it on or not is up to you. But gradually, as you find your way through the form and through the principles, you'll start to discover little things. And this is one of them, that there are many ways to do the same thing, but they all look more or less the same. So let's go through and add on the second part. So we've done part the wild horse's mane. The horse relates to the mind. And to calm the horse, you stroke the mane. So you're stroking the mane of the horse to calm the mind. And we're going to do the same on the other leg. So I'm going to face this way so that you can see and follow more clearly, hopefully. So prepare, Yu Bei. Regulate the breath, Qi Shi. Hold the ball, Bao Shui. Wide step, turn the body, give the shoulder first. Parts the wild horse's mane, slide the back heel, Yem up and on. Sit back, turn the toes. More or less to the side. In 24 you can go to the corner, it's a bit more advanced. But the body must turn, hold the ball. Keep the knee aiming. Wide step, give the shoulder first, and then turn, cover your nose. So let's go through from the first part, wild horse's mane, into the second part, wild horse's mane. So after we've finished this posture, we're sitting back to turn. Toes to the corner. If you want to exercise the hips a bit more, you can go further. Hold the ball. Wide step. Offer the shoulder, then offer the palm by turning the body. Again. Hold the ball. Shoulder, palm. Parts the wild horse's mane. turn, hold the ball, shoulder, parts the wild horse's mane. And from the beginning, prepare, 预备，起势, regulate the breath. Hold the ball, which is a transition. Empty the elbow as you step. Turn. Here the elbow slightly falls because it's pressing on your hip. Hold the ball. Again, the elbow relates to the step, both of which are related to the turn. Here, quick tip is that your body always resides between your two elbows. So if I was to stay in this position here, stand up without moving the body and just lift the elbow directly upwards. I'm going to keep the elbows where they are and they make this ball, roughly. So if I just drop the elbow, extend the palms, this is what happens to your body. So your body lives between two elbows. Very common mistake is to move the arm on its own or to overturn the body. But if you do this, it looks similar, but watch this. I'm going to stand up, I'm going to lift my elbow directly up. Again, forming the arms, keeping the elbows where they are. You can see I've biased my entire movement to my left now. As I've biased myself to the left, I'm now slightly off balance, so I have to counter with various other parts of the body in a minute way. So instead, we want to stay within this live zone. And that is kind of within this ball in front of you. So very, very commonly, when we're starting out, we accidentally move the arms because we see that goes over there. What we didn't see is that it was the body that brought the arm there. So it's the body moving, not your arm. And when you finish, you're not trying to be square or straight. There isn't anything square or straight in the body, or in fact in the universe, except for man-made things. So we're just following that. I am talking a lot again, so let's go through the first few postures. And I'm also going to add on the last part of this line, which is another part of the wild horse's mane. So we're energizing the palms, softening the elbows, pressing down, turning, hold the ball, turning the body to extend the leg and the arms, slide the back heel simply because it follows the body, sit back, turn, hang the elbow slightly, hold the ball, another wide step, off the shoulder first, turning through the waist, so your torso to the corner, your arms either side. And another one, so sitting back, hang the elbow slightly, turn the toes, hold the ball, wide step, hang the elbow, turn, and cover the nose. And take a step, regulate the breath, fall. So this is an undoing action. Hold the ball. The upper arm falls, so it's undoing, which inflates the lower arm as they're connected. Sit back, feel the weight of your elbow. Avoid lifting your back, but instead fall down onto your leg. Hang the elbow, give the shoulder, parts the wild horse's mane. Hang the elbow on your hip again. Drop the hip instead of lifting, drop. Hang the elbow, the third, up wild horse's mane. On the end of each posture, and just check your crown-tail relationship. It's very common to lift the tail up at the end because we're pushing by mistake. This is just a good point, a good time to check that your tail is seated into the ground through your legs. So again. Turn, hold the ball, and really take your time. You have plenty of time, there's no rush. Sit back, turn, fall onto your leg, turn, wide stance, turn, cover your nose. Sit back, turn again, like opening a door. Feet together, hold the ball. A wide step. Cover your nose. Put your body to the corner. Now when I say cover the nose, I mean the height. And if there was a mirror on the wall, you wouldn't be able to see your nose because your hand covers it. So sometimes this kind of thing happens. So the shoulders now, or the arms no longer part of the body, as the shoulders almost out of the joints. So we want this roundedness here. So I will show one from the front, if it helps, I don't know. Regulate the breath, heaven and earth. Emptying is an undoing action. And hold the ball. Use the hips. Allow the heel to slide. Be careful not to lunge, but you're just resting. Turn. Hold the ball. Keep the back connected. Like the wild horse's mane. Tail underneath. And the last of the three, sit back, turn just to the corner, hold the ball, empty the elbow to step, and turn. As your foot's already at the corner, you don't need to slide on the end. But if you have turned slightly more than you needed to, then you can slide. If you've turned to exactly the right position to begin with, then there's no need to slide. And it kind of depends on what level you're at. Normally, if you're beginning, because the body doesn't like to turn, we make the toes point for 90 degrees. So if you go to 90 degrees, it's not really that easy to do with just your leg. So it's a way to almost force your body to rotate and turn. It's kind of a stepping stone to the method. But it's a way to encourage this rotation of the body. One of the difficulties is we tend not to use the centre of our body, we only see the extremes. So it's, you see this kind of thing a lot with the arms moving on their own. This is a big no-no in Tai Chi practice. Instead, you're moving from your centre. Your centre is the dantian. This is quite hard to get to, but you can focus on the hips, or at least on the waist, or this region is moving, at least to start with. And then gradually the movements originate from here. But there's lots of, there's a long distance, a lot of pathways in order to reach this space. So maybe as a beginning, a starting point, at least get the shoulders to turn. And then even better, the centre of the torso. Even better, the hips. Even better than that, inside the hips. And then eventually to the dantian and mingmen. But feeling all of that through your legs. So let's go through it again. We'll do it a few times, and then I'll add on another posture. So prepare, Yubei, Energize the palms. Imagine your fingers being pulled forwards. Soften the shoulders and the elbows. You're falling down. You're doing less with the arms, so they fall. Convert that to a turn. Hold the ball. Step wide. Offer the shoulder first, then the palm. Let the heel slide. Continue. Sit back, turn. Hold the ball. Another wide step. Offer the shoulder. Turn the waist. And again. Turn. Hold the ball. Turn. Part the wild horse's mane. Okay, and from this angle, and again. Energize the fingers, a light expansion, then a release, a kind of letting go. Holding the ball. Wide step. Let the back heel slide with the turning of the body to the corner. Hold the ball. Another wide step. Off the shoulder first. Turn the body. The arm doesn't really move. Get into the corner, being careful of the tail. Hold the ball. Off the shoulder. Pass the wild horse's mane. So be careful. And be careful of your knees. So be careful not to let the knee collapse or to press out. Alright, so from the front, if you want to see from the front, well, that's pretty much the same as that side. So part of the wild horse's mane is the energy of split. So we have the first 4 energies, which we started on Monday. So we had inflate, pang, ru is to roll back, squeeze, ji, and press, un. The next 4 energies are tai, pluck, lie, split, cow, shoulder, joel, elbow. So this is the energy of split. And split means that one hand or one side appears to go in one circle. Another hand appears to go in a different circle. But they're both driven by the same waist. So this turning creates this press. This turning creates this traversing up. So they're both being driven from the same origin, but they are going in different directions to each other. One circle kind of goes one way, another circle goes another way, and they intersect at a certain point. So this is split. Split can be done in many different ways, and this movement can also be done in many different ways. As I mentioned already, how far you turn your toes, how much you bring your body weight back, all depends on your flexibility and also your understanding. If you can feel the difference between being forwards here and then being backwards here, then you don't need to move much. If you're not as sensitive to those minute changes, then of course exaggerate a lot to begin with, which is the normal way. So highly exaggerate, bring the weight all the way back, turn to 90 degrees, bring the weight forwards, and often we don't realise that we're doing kind of strange things and we're not aware of where our body weight really truly is. So we're trying to feel and be aware of where the feet are slightly. So let's go through it again, and I'll add on one more posture. And so far all the postures have been the same. All the movements are really pretty much the same. So from here we had regulate the breath, which was a lifting action and a falling action. Part of the wild horse's mane was a lifting action and a falling action. The beginning came up to the shoulders, so this created a datum, and to the waist, so we've drawn 2 lines. Same thing, shoulders, waist. Same thing, shoulders, waist. The next posture is going to be the same again, but from here, slightly adjusted. So the crazy thing about Yang style, well, about Tai Chi in general, is they're all based on these 13 postures, 8 of which I mentioned already, and the remaining 5 are ways of stepping, or more simplified is directions. So forwards, back, left, right, stay where you are. Actually, all the movements are very, very similar. So if you watch it from the arms and limbs point of view, it seems like many, many movements, hundreds of movements, but really it's only 8 plus the 5 steps. So if you have a look at this, the top, the bottom, the top, the bottom, it's actually not that far different. And if we were to continue through the rest of the form, it's actually not that different. Each of the postures are pretty much the same. So there's not that much variation, it just appears so because there are many different factors involved. Just like an alphabet that has 13 letters or 13 characters. With those 13 you can combine them to make many different things. Okay, I hear you telling me to stop talking, so I'm going to stop talking and let's go through the whole thing again. And I'm going to add on this final posture for today. White crane spreads its wings. So this is the third posture in the 24 steps. I'm going to do it facing this way because you should be able to clearly see if you're facing the screen. So let's have a go. We've started with our preparing step. We're energizing the palms. We're falling down, feeling the weight of the elbows, and convert that fall into a rotation to turn, hold the ball, wide step, use the body to turn, parks the wild horse's mane. Sit back, feel the weight of the elbow, hold the ball, another wide step, accommodating the width of the hips, turn, cover your nose, sit back, turn, hold the ball, hang the elbow, cover your nose. This is the third one. So from here, we're going to do the same thing again, but without turning the front foot. So we're going to make hold the ball, through the movement of your body, and you'll feel that your back leg kind of is being pulled. So allow your back leg to follow. It follows the movement of the waist. I'm highly exaggerating. The turn is actually quite subtle, but let's exaggerate a little bit first. So I'm almost going to the corner, but in reality it will be almost imperceptible, but just for learning. So turn, hold the ball. Your right hand, which was moving to your left, continues in an arc until you draw this big circle or semicircle. So if you follow the right hand, and I can't see if you can see or not, but you're going to follow the right hand. So it's going across, up, across. Again, across, up, and across. Across, up, and across. Your footwork. So we finished the third part of wild horse's mane, your footwork. The back leg follows the body. So the foot comes in, lift, and drain your weight downwards onto your heel. Because your weight falls onto your heel, your body will turn to the right, and you're just allowing that to happen. Your arms follow. Very commonly, you see the arms moving on their own, or the legs on their own. The whole goal is to link the upper and lower. So, after the hold ball, with your half step, the hand lifts, sit back, and the arms are just following, just floating. So your body weight goes forwards, turning the waist, backwards, and sit down on your back leg. At this point, your wrist is above your head, your shoulder is inflated and round through your back. On the other hand, you can touch it to the wrist. Actually, you don't need to make contact, but at least aiming towards your wrist. So now we've drawn 3 different heights of your wrist. We've gone shoulders, waist, and head. And that's it through the entire form. There's one small exception with the repulse monkey, but in general, we have 3 heights of your wrist. Above your head, shoulder, 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 and waist. Waist. So from here, half a step, hold the ball, inflate the back, sit down and turn, To complete the movement, the left hand falls away, like a big heavy chain that's been released. So as it falls, it's connected to your hip, so it falls, and on the end, a small half step. So your front leg is empty anyway, just touch the ball of the foot down onto the ground. So if we do it from this side, half a step, hold the ball, lift and turn, bring the weight back, let the fingers drop, and touch the toes. From this side, part the wild horse's mane. So half a step as you hold the ball, the hands lifts, drop the weight back, your wrist above your head, let the arm fall down along with the hip, and touch the toes. Again, half a step, hold the ball, lift, turn, bring the weight back, let the chain fall, and touch. You may notice that as the arm falls, your body turns anyway, which has an effect on your arm. Oddly, you don't need to move your arm specifically to a position. It arrives there through the movement of your body, your torso, and your stance. So whatever happens here has an effect here. So we say that yin drives yang. So this concept of linking the body instead of coordinating the body. It's not a system of making positions. The positions arrive because of the method. And the method is to fall or to expand. And that's more or less it. So I think this is probably a better angle for you. I'm assuming if you're looking at the screen, you don't have to crane the neck. So let's go from the last part, wild horse's mane. So it's the left hand forwards, the left leg forwards. You don't need to lunge or to be in any kind of kung fu posture or anything. The goal is to be light, relaxed and free. If you feel comfortable down here, great. If not, a bit higher, okay. But at the same time, not too narrow, not too small of a stance, because there's not much manoeuvring room. So you want your body weight at least to be able to fall towards the front leg and to fall towards the back leg. So from the part wild horse's mane, the last one, left hand and left leg forwards, half a step, hold the ball, lift and turn. Your back foot out 45 degrees, fall and touch the toes. One hand, one wrist above your head, one at the waist. Fingers lightly stretched. So again, 1, 2, 3. If you watch from this direction, you'll see that I'm effectively drawing a big circle. And again, there are various ways of doing it, but if I had a marker pen in my hand, I'm not going to actually do this, but if I had a marker pen in my hand, I'll be drawing a big circle. Exchange. Again. From the front view, if I do a mirror image of you, although if I do a mirror image of you, so we're turning. The lower hand is drawing this circle, turning half a step, hold the ball, lift and turn. The weight comes back, drop and touch the toes. So it's a, my carpet keeps moving, my rug keeps moving. So it's a half step with the back leg. Sit back. A half step with the front leg. White crane spreads its wings. So let's go through one more time from the beginning, and then we'll work on a different form. So again, I think I'm probably going to be too close for you to see initially. So step, regulate the breath. A slight turn, hold the ball. Keep the roundness through the back. Empty the elbow, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, turn. Hold the ball. Empty the elbow, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, turn. Hold the ball. Empty the elbow, wide step. The body between the two elbows. White crane spreads its wings, half a step. Hold the ball, lift and turn, drop and touch the toes, half a step. White crane spreads its wings. Here your fingers more or less in line with the knee to avoid this or this, and your hips seated on your back foot so that your front leg is free to move, at least your front leg is free to move. And your back foot 45 degrees, your front foot forwards. Your back foot 45, your front foot forwards. As a general rule, it's not a rule, it's an observation really, but if ever your weight is going to go onto your front leg, there'll be a space between your feet. If your weight was to be on your back leg, however, this will now, if you have a wide stance, this now pulls on your hip. So you have to compensate somewhere. So if ever your weight's on the back leg, your feet will be more or less in a line, simply because that's where your foot would fall. If you were going to go forwards, then your feet would have a slight space between them. So as a general idea, if your weight goes forwards, there's a gap. If your weight's backwards, your feet are on a straight line, either heel to heel, heel next to the heel, some variation there is okay. All right, so grab a quick drink if you need. I'm going to get a drink as well, and then we'll go through the 42 steps. Hopefully you've done this part first, and then the 42 will just be a kind of a continuation of those same principles, but with some slight adjustments. If you've not done the 42 before, I would suggest not doing this next section, because to be taught from a video is very difficult. I can't actually correct anyone there. So I might say, and this happens a lot, I'd say make sure there's a distance between your feet. And it's so strange, we often go, yeah, there is a distance between my feet. Feels okay. So to be self-aware of your own movements, to be aware of what you're actually doing as opposed to what you think you might be doing. Sometimes there's a disparity. So the 42 is a bit of a difficult form. In the beginning it won't seem it, but later it gets very challenging. All right, get yourself a quick drink and I'll meet you back here in a minute. 12 seconds. Okay, welcome back. Let's go through, for those working on the 42, it's a little bit of a struggle, but let's try a few of the movements. And as hopefully there aren't any newbies doing the 42, as it's considered a more advanced form. So let's have a little practice, and I'll just go through a few bits. Of course, the space is a little bit limited, so I might have to adjust and change, but you know what the changes will be, so follow along as best you can. I think that it's probably best if I'm back to back, facing my back to you, to begin with at least. So let's just do a few movements and see how far we get within the space. So, go through your checks, 拜会, 回音, 不要, the qua, and step, 预备, 起势. 42 is slightly faster than the other forms. Express the right side, empty the hip, hold the ball, on, empty the elbow, turn, land away, on, exaggerate slightly, so a very obvious stretch, fall clearly through the hips, up through the centre, hang the elbows, lift the crown, drop the tail, expand the back, turn from the hips, level the palms, adjust the foot, sit back from the hands, turn, empty, fill the palm, down bien. Slightly past the wall, sit back, turn, elbow, lifting hands. View. White crane spreads its wings but highly exaggerate, so really lift and drop, lift the crown, drop the tail. Slightly expand, turn, low xi elbow. And again, low xi elbow. Turn. Close the left hand, a big opening back fist. Turn, Lü, turn, Ji, lift the crown, drop the tail, grind, roll, and squeeze, barn tray, barn, lan, tray, 无风四比. Arms level, then press, follow the right hand, drop weight in, on. This is section 1. A little bit cramped, but I hope you could follow. Let's do that again. Regulate the breath. Sit down. Express the right side, soften the left. Turn the toes. Hold the ball. On. Empty. On. Round through your back. Turn, exaggerate slightly. Roll back. Lower dantian, middle dantian. Empty the hip. Squeeze. Lift the bike wing. Turn. Level the palms. Fold. Sit back. Press. Empty the hip. Expand. Single whip. Down bien. Turn. Empty. And lifting hands. Ti shou. Roll back. White crane spreads its wings. Bai He Liang Shi. Brush knee and twist step. Low xi elbow. Hang the elbow, focus the palm, expand the fingers, empty. Turn to the corner. Same again. Press. brush knee. Here you can slightly exaggerate the movements. Close the left side, left hand. Splitting fist, key tray. Then turn, grind. Be careful of your left hip as always. Turn, step. Squeeze. Note the difference between this and the other forms. The squeeze is done differently here. So the middle finger touches, hang the elbows, lift the crown, and deflect parrying punch. Ban entree. Close the right side. Ban. Step, lan. Trei. Apparent close up. Wu feng si bi. Palms up, palms down. Empty the hips. Sun style. An. An. The various directions. Forwards. Backwards. Downwards. And of course, upwards. And the difficult one, sideways. Hard to see, I think. It's hard to see in real life, let alone through a video or through a screen, but I think you know anyway. So, some pointers. I'll face this way so you can see, I think, if you're looking at the screen, this will be easier. So your initial movement, the same as always, but slight exaggeration, slight rolling through the front. If you're doing it for performance, that is, if you're doing it for your own general health and your own practice, then you don't need to exaggerate. But of course, the 42 is an exaggerated form, so it's more to present Tai Chi rather than to be Tai Chi. So I'll do the exaggerated version slightly. So a little bit inflate, and then fall. If you really exaggerate, the crown can lift on the end. Then it's pressing, really opening through the back. Hold the ball. Pun, you can exaggerate this. Of course, any exaggeration causes some tension, which is kind of against the principles, but also is to emphasize and to show the internal aspect represented in an external action. So, from here, rather than just feeling the internals, you can exaggerate a little bit, just a fraction. The elbow rests on the hip, empty, and then hold the ball. Biggest mistake here is to lift. So instead, fall down, inflate the back. Same thing here, exaggerate slightly, this is okay. Normally, glance, so hopefully you can see the subtlety. But on the 42, slight exaggeration. Then roll. Leading from here, roll. And a slight lifting through the body. But again, a slight contradiction. You're not really lifting up your chest, but just this feeling of as if you're away from your hands. And it reminds me of the Dao Yin when you're brushing the beard. So as if your head is going one way, your palms are going the other. Or when you're tearing a piece of paper, one hand goes one way, one hand goes the other. It's not everything here, but you're kind of having this lightness through your crown. Then from the lower dantian to the middle dantian, as you soften your right hip, but expand your back at the same time. Here, common mistake is the weight goes onto the heel. It's not the heel, it's the just behind the balls of the feet on the Yongchen. But if you want to exaggerate, of course, you can add a little bit. You see this happen quite a lot. But this way is a little bit better. Hang the elbows. Normally, Ji on the wrist with the palm. But this time, just to exaggerate, just to inflate slightly more, the middle finger more or less, or the middle two fingers, or the first two fingers. Normally, empty and turn. On the 42, slightly forwards and around. Slightly forwards and around. You may feel a compromise on the back. Try to minimise that compromise. Turn. Palms flat. Toes up. By the time your toes are up, your fingers are pointing in the same direction to your right. The hardship is that we'll force the arm in that position. There's no force required. Instead, try to work out what falls. So if I want my fingers to point that way, I could force them that way. Or you could just think that they're falling down. Your shoulder and your elbows falling down. And this creates this posture. I'm quite inflexible in the upper body. So if I want to exaggerate, I will have to force a little bit. But this is quite a big strain in Tai Chi terms. So as best you can, find the position, but rest there. So you've done this slight movement forwards, coming back, brushing the neck, folding. Your hands stay where they are. So if your hand was in contact with something, let's say it's leaf, your body will retreat from your hands. And the idea is you want to feel that your back becomes round and inflated, as if bouncing something from behind you. So you're inflating the back. So here, fold, and sit back. As you're sitting back, the fingers energize. Then, if I do it from here, you're going to empty your hip. So your right hip empties. So you've come around, done this retreat. Your right hip empties, and the elbow falls into your hip, or into that space. Then use that fall to return, to press out into the Danbian, single whip. So from here, forward slightly, turn, toes up, fingers aiming, fold, brush the neck, retreat, empty the hip so your elbow can fall into that space, empty the other hip so your body now turns to express the goal shoal, the hooking hand. The knee opens, ready to receive your body weight in the Danbian. As always, this round thing. Normally in single whip, it's often mistaken to be directly to a wall, assuming you start in a square room or a rectangular room. But really all single whips are mildly beyond the wall. So it's not really ahead, but mildly to the side. Anyone watching though, it's so subtle that anyone looking wouldn't be able to tell the difference between here and here. But you know the difference. So once more, from here we've gone around. Sit back, turn the toes, retreat after folding, hang the hip, hang the left hip, form the beat, single whip. From here, turn, empty the left side to create the left elbow, empty the right side, lifting hands. Roll back, wide crane, spreads the wings, same as before. Brush knee, same as before, just being careful not to have both hands up, but one hand is pressing low, the lowest point, and one is more or less to the ear, and then ending up at the shoulder. So this is as before, this is as before. The P tray, the splitting hand, similar to Banlan tray, but instead of the hand coming inside, outside. Expand your back. The movement actually doesn't work if you use your arms. So it's this idea of inflating from the back and falling at the same time. It looks like you're reinforcing your fist with your hand. You can think of it that way, that does work. But the idea really is that of a hammer or sledgehammer. and then you're just letting the hammer drop. So it's up and then letting the hammer drop. So P tray means to split or to crack a rock open with a wedge. So when you drop the hammer on, it drives the wedge down, which splits the rock. So it wasn't the wedge really that split it, it was the act of falling onto the wedge that split it. So it's not the act of this or adding, but instead falling. So using your back whilst resting through your legs and your hips. Again, you can slightly exaggerate. So I've slightly dislocated not dislocated, but slightly exaggerated the shoulders. So from here, I prefer not to do that, so I'm to here. But you can a little bit enhance the movement. The rollbacks or the grinding is the same as we know, I think, already. Is that you're turning, it was already shown in the 24, and then this grinding action. It's a kind of a split because you have one circle one way and another circle another way. When combined, creates this. So it's like this waxing thing. So we have this turning, hanging the elbow, rolling. So turning, grind, then fall, roll, turn as you lift. And you've seen that in the first movement already. After here, turn as you lift. And the same here, turn as you lift. Exactly the same. So from the P tray, turn, fall, and squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same again. Turning, hanging the elbow, grinding, a slight incline here, hang the hips as you roll, turn, and squeeze. Bindland tray, as before. So this is all okay. You can exaggerate slightly this action. You can exaggerate slightly this action, but up to you. Okay, someone seems to be calling. Ignore that. Next time I'll put it on silent. But I think that's the end of the class anyway. So let's finish. I'll wait for it to finish. Yeah, okay. So after the all of this, the Rufung to be all the same. Just the final movement, just to finish off, is that the apparent close up is palms up, palms down. Be careful not to incline or to press or to lean. Press down, follow the right side, hang the elbows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that concludes the first section of the 42. Next week we'll do some more, maybe revise very quickly, and then but hopefully you'll be practicing on your own anyway, so we can do the next section after that, or at least part of it. Alright, so I think that's it. So let's just do a light cool down, just 3 breaths, feet apart. A light breath, breathing in, breathing out. Again, breathing in, letting the body relax, letting the joints open, breathing out. One more. In, soft through the legs, soft through the shoulders, and rest. Okay, so let's finish here, feet together, and salute. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session.